I'm just going to be patient while it. Okay, well, thank you so much to all of our candidates and members for joining us in this forum. I appreciate you giving of your time. And I'm Sarah Robbie. I'm a teacher in the district. I teach at Pflugerville Elementary and Special Education. I'm a resource and inclusion teacher, and I'll be co-moderating today with Christina.
Good evening. My name is Christina Symington, and I'm a teacher at the new middle school at Bowles, and I teach health and PE. All right, at this time, we would like to give each candidate the
and then giver. As they have, I have just been district of our teams, and they have gone through, currently have 2 in elementary, 2 in middle, and 1 at the high school. All throughout PTO presidents, I was a PTO president at I've volunteered. It's been things that have allowed me to just come here, and I serving in different capacities at the 3 school greater community and serve in a wider capacity.
Great, thank you for sharing. Next up, we have Mr. Brian Allen.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to hold a candidate forum. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all that you do. My name is Brian Allen. I am board trustee for place number 5 in PfISD. My occupation is a human resources director for a mechanical contractor in Austin. I'm a parent of a student in the district and one that graduated from PHS in 2015. My motivation is altruistic. What motivates me to serve on the board is getting to advocate for public education and teachers. Being part of providing, inspiring, engaging, and relevant education that empowers students to reach their full potential as productive members of a diverse global community is a huge motivational for me. Joining and working with others, parents, district staff, and local legislature to achieve success is also a motivating factor. It's an opportunity to provide local citizen governance and oversight of education at the point close to the parent and the child. Also, practicing good governance motivates me. Good governance sets a strong foundation for a board to succeed, and it provides representation of teaching, coaching, and mentoring. I serve on the Finance PfISD course. It's a boardship. Class members, we are selected for demonstrated leadership in our local districts, communities, and for our representation of diversity within the Texas school districts. We engage with speakers and experts in education and business in themes such as teamwork, trusteeship, equity, diversity, and visionary leadership. I'm a board member of the Pflugerville Education Foundation. I'm a former instructor for leadership academies, which include local law enforcement, former member of the District Academic Advisory Council, a PTO member, booster club member, and volunteer on several campuses throughout the district. I served as a volunteer for the AR program for 1st and 2nd grade students. As a result of my work and support to the students, I was asked to expand my time. I was selected to assist students that needed additional support regarding reading comprehension. I provided this feedback to the teachers. I'm a member of the American Legion here in Pflugerville and very involved in supporting veterans in our community. I am on my 3rd year with the Texas Veterans Commission Fund for Veterans Assistance Grants Committee. Our committee evaluates grants from across the state, and we provide recommendations to the commission. This program awards reimbursement grants to eligible charitable organizations, local government agencies, and veteran service organizations that provide district service to Texas veterans and their families. And I'm always looking to what I can do to serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Next, we have Mr. Corbin Black.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll click it again. Thank you.
Thanks. My name is Corbin Black. I volunteer on the SHAC committee to the trustee council, the school board council. The reason I want to run is I have gone through public school. It was my only option, and I value it. It is one of our absolute public institutions that must be preserved in this country is our access to a good education in our public schools for all students. And what really motivates me is to make sure that students have access to a quality education and that they know that that will make their lives better. Now, how we do that is up to, our trustees, our schools, our teachers. And that's really what I want to bring is a new, sorry, Mr. Allen really knew what to say, and I just cannot follow that act as well. I want to make sure that our teachers feel empowered in their classrooms to do what they do best, and that's educate our kids. Aside from that, I have developed education materials for transitioning non-technical individuals into technical roles for Fortune 500 companies. I have taught that. I've taught in college, and that's kind of my background. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. All right, next we have Pat McCord.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to watch for if people had to remute. Okay.
Okay, there we go. My name's Pat McCord. I am a long-term resident of the city of Pflugerville. I've been here for about 35 years. My daughter went from kindergarten through graduation in the Pflugerville, Dessau. Then we moved to Pflugerville proper, and she went to Parkcrest and then PHS. While she was in school, we were very in school and school activities. And since she had graduated and went on to college and now has become a teacher in Hutto, I am still very involved in the Pflugerville School District. I do mentor and volunteer teaching in some classes. I did extensive substitute assignments about 2 or 3 years ago. I'm a semi-retired tech executive. I worked for a company for about 32 years and they decided to move the company to Florida. I decided to stay in Texas. And so I do consulting with 2 tech firms locally, helping them manage their compliance documentation. And I run a photography business. I'm essentially a full-time photographer. I take pictures at all of the schools in the district and many schools outside of the district. I have a good relationship with almost all of the principals, many administrators, and a lot of teachers. And I feel strongly about volunteering. I volunteer to do a lot of different activities in the community. I'm involved in volunteering at my church. I'm also a member of the American Legion. I'm a Navy veteran. Got most of my education in electronics and electronics warfare when I was in the military, and I leveraged that to get jobs in the tech industry and eventually became the CEO of a $13 million company here locally, the one that got bought and moved to Florida. I think that there's challenges coming in the school district, not only financial challenges, but teacher retention challenges. There's a lot of noise in the education system right now, not necessarily what's going on in Pflugerville, but a lot of what's going on nationally with regards to pre-K education, topics, books and libraries and things like that. I just think that you need a stable position and a steady hand to deal with those things and not be reactionary, but be proactive and get in front of issues like that. I think the biggest challenge though for the school district over the next 2 years is going to be budgetary. They're predicting a huge shortfall and they're talking about issuing a bond in November. So in a down economy, a bond is a tough sell. But I think that I have something to offer the Pflugerville ISD. I was a founding member on the first board of the Pflugerville Education Foundation. So with Ms. Mott, we were both founding board.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we have Ms. Renae Mitchell. Let me see. You
Oh,
should be
I'm
able
sorry. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me this afternoon and for hosting this, as well as you all showing up at our board meetings and let us know how well you support us and tell us when you don't support us and what we need to do. So we appreciate that extra voice. I am Renae Mitchell, running for board trustee, place 3. I am running because I'm passionate about kids. I'm excited about what the kids have done in Pflugerville, and I want to be a part of it. I first ran on the board because my son graduated from Hendrickson High School, top 10% of his class, and went on to get a full scholarship at Rice University. So everybody started congratulating my husband and I thought, okay, why are they congratulating us? He did the work. Then I thought, oh my gosh, the support we gave him that made him successful. So I immediately thought, how can I do the same for other kids in the district? And so running for school board was the best choice. I've been PTO president, Little League president, soccer president, Booster Club president. So I've always been an involved parent since my now 27-year-old who graduated from Hendrickson High School was in elementary. And I do have a daughter who's at Weiss right now, and she's been really successful as well. So when I show up at school or school events for my kids and other kids, I always look around and see who else may need help. And I always offer my help to kids that may need help, as well as parents. A lot of parents can afford to, they have jobs, they can't be at the school all day. So since I work as a consultant and make my own schedule, I'm able to be there when needed and however needed. So I have a MBA and an MED from the University of Texas. And I've also, as Brian Allen have gone through leadership task, the Texas Association of School Boards. So I'm a master trustee. It teaches you leadership qualities, and it shows you how to be involved around Texas and what the districts are doing. I'm also the vice president of the Central Texas School Board Association, which comprises of Region 13 school boards, which is a 60-member group, 60 district group, sorry. And so we legislate, we advocate for our district needs. And Pflugerville has been a presence, not only in the Central Texas School Board Association by my presence, but also at the Capitol, asking for more funding, asking for local control, give the school districts local control, asking for more money so that we can pay our teachers and our staff so they can afford to live in the districts they serve. So I love the jobs, want the job, and I hope you guys reelect me to continue to do the job. Right now I am school board president, and I just love helping. I am a human resources director by trade, and that's my day job. So I love being a resource and a solution.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then last we have Ms. Vernagene Mott. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Can you hear me? Yes. I'm so thankful to be here and have this opportunity to talk to our PfEA members, because y'all do make a difference. My hat is off to you, and PfISD, the shining star. I know that you are the people that make the difference out there and continue to uplift all of us, and especially our students. You are also our superheroes, because you have undergone so much the last 2.5 years, tirelessly and passionately doing whatever it takes under circumstances nobody could predict and didn't know what was going to happen day to day. I was blessed to also have an adventurous teaching career. For 35 years, I taught high school math, chemistry, physics, computers, German, and I've always valued the insights of the teachers of today. I'm a Pflugervillian, having grown up here. I'm a Texan with that T chromosome, and I'm also an American. And likely you've seen my signs that relate to vision, leadership, and yes, excellence. So on the vision side, I've been here a while, and I'm looking at the present circumstances that we've had, And I continue to have hope every day for whatever the future is going to hold for our teachers and students. I've experienced 74 years of having my first day at school as a student, a teacher, a grandparent, a lifelong learner. And I still have that teacher heart and soul. I've served on numerous strategic planning groups with the city of Pflugerville, with the state TSB group, and here in Pflugerville with our ISD. And so I've had that opportunity to recognize challenges and problems, to analyze, strategize, and implement, and then review what has happened. Particularly, I was proud to be the charter founder of the Pflugerville Education Foundation. The leadership TSB that two of our candidates have already referenced, to build an alumni association of those who have achieved master trustee, which I did in 2007, and also had the idea of farming, being the charter farmer of the Central Texas School Board Association. With leadership, I am valued. I'm a proven, experienced servant leader. I've mentored others. I've been a presenter at state and national conventions and events. I've served for 18 years, and as a TSB director on the state level for 13 years. I'm on the Baylor Scott and White Hospital Development Board, and I served on the Manville Water Supply Corporation Board. I was science department chair for 10 years and math department chair for 17 years. And I sponsored National Honor Society for 25 years, the German Club for 4 years, and UIL for 27 years. As a volunteer, I've done everything with the school, from the CFAC, the SHAC, the safety, the DOI, Friends of Texas Public Schools, Make Education a Priority, which was a statewide initiative, and Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And I have received numerous awards, both at the local level as a community legend, a community builder, the Chamber of Commerce Lifetime Achievement Award, and the Leadership TSB Celebration of Leadership, which was a statewide award that I was very blessed with. And from my alma mater, UT, I was recognized for Excellence in Teaching Award from that institution.
Thank you, Ms. Mott.
Thank you, Ms. Mott. That is our time on that one. I'm going to just enter into chat just the next question. We've got our order. We'll hear first from Mr. McCord. And then the question is, what do you see as the major issues facing our district or facing public education in general? So I'll just read again. What do you see as the major issues facing our district or facing public education in general? And we'll start first with Mr. McCord. I'll click to unmute.
Okay, there we go.
And I'll just remind us real quick, it's 2 minutes on this one. I'll try to just put my hand up to indicate. It's awful hard for me with Southern manners to interrupt anyone, so I'm going to try my best, but please don't think there's anything behind it. It's just very difficult for me. So 2 minutes on the clock.
Okay. Well, I think I mentioned in my opening, as major issues I see facing the district, again, I think that there's some serious financial challenges on the highlight on the horizon. I also think that teacher retention is an issue. I'm also somewhat concerned about the number of private schools that have popped up within our district boundaries. I think the other day I counted 11 now, 2 big idea schools. There's a new one going in at the corner of 10th Street and Wells Ranch Parkway. There's NIOS, there's Harmony Science, so forth, and Concordia, and all of that cuts into our attendance and our ability to earn money from the state. So I'm concerned about that. It seems like there's no end in sight to the private schools emerging in our community. And I think it's because our community is financially secure and parents can afford to pay if they need to pay. But many of these schools are normally funded and there's no tuition. So that's some of the things that I think are significant. I think facing public education in general, I also mentioned in my opener, there are a lot of topics that I think are getting an incredible amount of media attention with regards to CRT and LGBT. items and sex education and library books. So I think there's simple solutions to many of these things. And if you ask one person, they'll say that that's not an issue in our district, and you talk to another group and they say it is. Since I've become a candidate, I've gotten asked to join a number of blogs, chats, and Facebook groups, and every side of an issue is visible there. Everybody thinks that something is going on and that something is not going on. So I think that searching for the truth in those issues and finding a solution and a way to present that to our community is important.
Thank you so much for that response. Next, we have Ms. Mitchell. I'm going to find the unmute key. There we go.
Okay, thank you. The things I think that are facing our school district is school and student performance, safety, teacher retention. Coming off the heels of COVID, we need to find our kids and get them back engaged in school and tackle the lost learning. Just recently, I've heard about 2 to 3 seniors who had decided not to come back to school after COVID. And so I was glad I was introduced to them, and I was successful in getting them back engaged and interest in school. And I can clearly say now that they are in school and they will graduate. So finding those kids who think that there's an alternative to coming back to school and doing what they need to be doing is in the forefront of my what I want to do for the district. And also keeping our infrastructure and our technology going. We got to keep that up because we're a one-to-one district, and that is great. That afford teachers to have their own computers and their own systems to do what they need to do. And then let's face it, Pflugerville has become a really expensive place to live. And so we need to keep up the pay for our teachers and our staff so they can live here, like I said in my opening, that they can live here and raise their kids and enjoy a lot of the things that I've enjoyed raising my kids here. You can stay in Pflugerville and not have to get out of Pflugerville to do anything because we have everything here. So just being that support, that listening ear to parents who needs help navigating how to get their kids in school, stay in school engaged, and also how to be that parent's voice to lend itself to whatever the kids and the teachers need in the classrooms. And the safety, we need to maintain safety within our school, continue to look at ways to keep our kids safe and learning in a safe environment. I'm also, as president, part of the safety committee that's within the district to stay engaged with the police officers and not just in our town and our school, but the surrounding cities, just to tackle those safety issues that might be facing our district. So again, would love to continue to do the job, have enjoyed doing the job.
Thank you so much for that response. We have Mrs. Mott next. I'm sorry, let me click to unmute. There. Oh, I'm going to click to unmute real quick. Is it giving you the option?
How's that?
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So again, we have to have our teachers, so we have to attract and retain our experienced teachers who are willing to work and to love what they're doing. We have to look at student in attendance, in academics, and in behavior, and see how we can help them better perform and get the outcomes that the parents and we all expect or hope for. We have to look at the impact from the state on funding, the mandates that they're giving, and certainly the local control. We have distractions that have impacted our performance with our teachers and with the board and everybody, and the workload that might be on our teachers. We need to look at that. That's a big issue. Negativity in the media, and that's another issue that is out there. And of course, affordable housing plus the cost of living.
Thank you so much for that response. We have Ms. Molina next. Let me see if I need to unmute.
Thank you so much. You know, I'm going to focus on something that I read in an article from a man who has advocated in another district for a long time. He said what we're facing is a catastrophe when it comes to the teaching and the staff shortages. And I think that he's actually correct. I think that first and foremost, the morale of our teachers and also just the retention of everybody from our teachers to our cafeteria workers to our bus drivers is the number one thing that we need to face, because if we don't have teachers in our classrooms, then any number of other things are not going to be things that we can even begin to address. With that teacher morale and that retention of our staff, I am incredibly concerned about what kind of the consequences of the pandemic has been on our children, not only our teachers and our staff members, but also our children. We haven't kind of pumped the brakes and really talked seriously or given voice to the fact that these kids have suffered just mentally, emotionally. There are massive learning gaps. And so I think to address what was kind of simmering under the surface before COVID hit, this rising of responsibilities and the things that teachers are required to divvy up in their classroom, everything that they were facing beforehand kind of spilled over. And I think that the number one priority really needs to be our staff and really needs to be addressing those gaps in the socio-emotional and the learning that it has taken a hit from all of our children from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade.
Thank you so much for that response. We have Mr. Black next. And I'll click. Oh, I'm sorry. I just messed you up. Sorry about that.
Okay. So I agree. Pflugerville ISD is looking at a $14 million shortfall. We've already had the superintendent suggesting that we may not be able to open the new elementary. And with $14 million negative, we're probably looking at more extreme cuts. But with that, we need to address teacher pay first and foremost. Right now, fresh out of school, a teacher makes $50,000 a year. In the Pflugerville, Austin area, that's really not able to keep up with cost of living. Just the fact of the matter, if our teachers are expected to get a 4-year degree, get certified, take the test, and be credentialed to teach our kids, they should not have to also have a second job, which many actually end up doing to make ends meet, to live within a reasonable distance of our schools. After we address teacher pay, we need to address retention and recruitment. We've already heard from major universities in Texas saying that their education programs just aren't graduating that many. So as we see more and more teachers approach retirement, the amount of teachers in the industry just isn't going to match what we've seen. And now we're going to be competing much more aggressively to attract them, to retain them, because as Mr. McCord alluded to, we have many private schools in our operational area, and that is not something that you can't really ignore when they're competing for your instructors, for your teachers, for the people who get the face time with your kids. And that we have to address head on, and we can't shy away from it.
Thank you so much for that response. And last, we have Mr. Allen. And I'll click done.
Thank you for asking this question. This is a great question. I think that long-term academic, social, and emotional effects from the pandemic are issues that are facing education. It's important that we continue to analyze the screeners and readers in support of solutions and to make informed decisions. A one-size-fits-all solution is not going to work. It's vital that we continue to identify who needs help, what do they need help in, how to, And how much help? I will hold the superintendent, I think it's the superintendent accountable, needs the tools and resources to must be consistently refined or achieving the goal. I firmly believe recruiting and retaining highly skilled and experienced educators and staff in our district is a huge problem in public education across the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Our next question is regarding any concerns you have about our district. More specifically, what suggestions do you have for improvement? First, we'd like to begin hearing from Ms. Vernagene Mott.
Well, we do have some. I think we need to look at our relationship with our community and our staff so that we have open forums to discuss, true collaboration where we can share ideas. We need to look at guarded planning time for our teachers and the workload, the class size, and how to reduce chronic stress. The stress just seems to go on and on. We need to look and enhance the programs that our students need and provide these opportunities for all of our students. And I think we also have to grow our leaders and ambassadors because as is mentioned before, we have now 3 new charter schools, IDEA and BASIS, and private schools right down the street, Concordia. So we have to be out there telling the good things that are happening in public education. The other thing is I am an advocate for public education. So going to the legislature, looking at the interim reports that are coming out on what needs to be done or what the issues are with the task force, staying abreast of those and being ready to react to our representatives and leaders so that they hear our voice, our teachers, our board members, and our community get on board with what the issues are and how we can seek those improvements that sometimes are controlled by the state, particularly with the funding.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Corbin Black.
So regarding concerns, ever since I became a candidate, I've had many people approach me, with concerns about CRT, K-3 education, all kinds of concerns. One prevailing theme, though, has been that we aren't communicating as to the teachers. Their voices, they feel just aren't heard, or lost, or they're just outright ignored. So to address that, we really need to make sure that we are acknowledging, capturing, and responding to our teachers to make sure they feel supported, that they know that we're trying to make sure that their success is our success. And really, they are the first and foremost barometer of how we're doing. As far as what other suggestions, I personally think that we need to expand our post-high school non-college tracks. Right now, we have an excellent P-Tech program that gives students access to IT, carpentry, agriculture, just so many things that really give them an idea of what careers are available for them without college. Because college, I went to Texas Tech, got a bachelor's in computer science, and I'll be the first to say college is not for everyone. With the average student debt being $36,000 coming out, it's a big undertaking for an 18-year-old to try to sign up for. And maybe it's not right for them, and that's okay. But we should still let them know how they can be members of our community and contribute to that.
Thank you. Next, we would like to ask Mr. Pat McCord.
There we go. Okay. So concerns I have about the district, again, I think I kind of led in my last meeting or my last answer on that. I think that to add to that, I think, teacher pay and teacher retention are extremely important now. I think also getting a very comprehensive assessment of the loss of learning that took place during the COVID episode for the past 2 years, remote learning, and whether kids were absorbing and able to retain that information in the very unconventional format they were taught. I think that's a really big concern. I also agree with Ms. Mott that community engagement is extremely important. Again, from some of these chats and pages and blogs that I've been invited to participate in, I hear a lot of parents saying that they are bringing issues up to their school, to the principal of their school, or even to the administration, and I don't feel like they're being heard. And so I think even no is an answer that, if it is no, has to be given. You can't just ignore a question and walk past it. I know you can get barraged with inquiries on a very frequent basis, but at some point in time, whoever at the district is responsible for providing an answer to a question like that, it needs to be given, even if it's not the answer that you think that person is looking for. And I think our technology, a concern in the district. We made a huge technology purchase to support the remote learning and activity. If you're in the tech industry, you know it ages quickly. And is the school district going to be able to keep up with the technology demand that may be coming?
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Next, we would like to hear from Ms. Renae Mitchell.
It's all about the timing on this, isn't it? So what I like to do, and I think would improve greatly, is listening. We have to listen to all our stakeholders, especially our kids. One thing that I've done while I was on the board is every time they come up with a committee to do some planning for something, I make sure that, if appropriate, we have a student involved in that committee to give their points of view. We have a teacher, we have a staffer, that all the stakeholders are at the table so that they can tackle whatever the situation they're bringing to our members, or however they want to lead the district. They get that perspective from all our community and the parents as well. So I always say, if you want to know a solution to something, go to the people that are actually doing the work. So we need to go to our frontline people, teachers all the time. You know, it's like, you know, when you a football game, the coach always asks, tell me what you see on the field. You know, it's one thing sitting on the sidelines coaching, but until you actually doing it, you get a different perspective. And if you actually the beneficiary of what's going on, which are our students, they have a perspective too that is enlightening. So I would say just listening and providing valuable solutions that work, solutions that's going to get to the source of the root of the problems or the concerns that we have. And so I think while we're doing a good job, we always can do better. And so let's do better.
Thank you. Next, we will have Mr. Brian Allen, and I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Thank you. I am concerned about the attendance rate of our district. And this entails the total enrollment and our daily attendance. We got to analyze and keep getting after the data to see what we can do within our district, and with community support to improve these rates. We should also look towards obviously what the state can do in order to support us. I'm also concerned once again with staff shortage. I want to make a point that every job in our district is important. We are mutually supporting of one another, of our district's mission. The district, we're going to have to continue to recruit and retain staff. Both are important for the growth and the success of the district. And to accomplish this, I believe that we need to continue to develop fair pay and compensation, find the best fits for our district, And if people keep leaving under similar patterns, we need to find out why, and we need to improve things to ensure that we're keeping and retaining our staff.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. And last, for question number 2, we have Alissa Molina.
You know, I think we all agree that the staffing issues and the teacher morale are of massive concern. And I think that one thing that we can do to at least approach this situation is to just ask our teachers. They are the experts of all that they have to do in the classroom when they shift from responsibility to responsibility to responsibility, to taking data, to dealing with the social emotional issues that are in their classrooms. We need to ask our teachers. And when I say ask our teachers, we need to have a consultant come in and ask our teachers. Many of our teachers do not feel empowered to tell the truth to leadership. This is just honest. They don't know if what they're saying is going to be misconstrued, if it's going to be taken the wrong way. So we really need to get third parties in here to really ask them. They are excellent at solving problems. They solve multiple problems all day long, every day. And we just need to really ask them their feedback in a way that empowers them to be able to tell the truth. I think that we need to be smart about our staff development days and what we're doing in our staff development time. We need to talk to them about, is this really helpful? Because these teachers want to stay. They love their kids and they love the district, but they have not really been given the tools or really been given the leeway to take ownership, to kind of request what they need to develop past these 2 years of what they have had to be, what they've been through. And so I think we also have a narrative issue. If you ask people, what's the best school in Pflugerville? What are the best schools? Some schools get like, oh, that's a terrible school. So I think we can help with that using different venues. So those are some things that I think we could work on.
Okay, thank you for that response. I'm gonna post the next question in the chat. The turnover rate for teachers in Pflugerville ISD was 15.1% according to the Texas Education Agency's paper report for last school year. That's the Texas Academic Performance Report. This is higher than the state average. Why do you believe teachers are leaving the profession? Or what are your thoughts on teacher burnout? And we'll start first with Ms. Mitchell.
I just want to begin with the word wow. You know, teachers have to put up with so much in, you know, work-life balance. They're teaching yours, mine, and ours, you know, and then they have to take care, and I'm gonna say theirs as well. So their kids as well. So the work-life balance I think it's always been a challenge. And look, I've been in a district for 30 years. And if you think about it, some of the people I met when my first child was in elementary, became my dear friends through PTO. And some of those were teachers. So we're just part of that issue is retirement. Because of COVID and retirement time, you know, so they're retiring. And let's face it, they're burnt out as well. Maybe COVID has shown them that they need to, you know, be at home and how to work from home. In the numbers, and we're losing some to other professions. And so, and it go back to pay again, right? So we need to respect what we're seeing and what the numbers are telling us, and at the same time respect where our teachers are deciding to leave the district. And then just you know, we do exit interviews. Let's listen at those exit interviews, you know. And then the other thing too is we have to work on recruitment. And recruitment is just because they're leaving, don't mean we can't get them back, right? So, you know, maybe they need to take some time off because they're burnt out, but that doesn't close the door to maybe trying to, you know, court them back to come come back and work for them, because we do respect our teachers. I'm in the schools as much as I can because we have to be invited. I just can't show up. But I like to go to all the UIL events and any reason to go to school to celebrate our kids and our teachers, just to give them a pat on the back, just to say, we understand what's going on. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. We can't all at one time, but guess what? We can work hard at trying, and we can make sure we're making some headway to what they can see.
Thank you for that response. And then we have Mr. Allen next.
Thank you. Teachers are leaving the profession. This is just not in Texas. We all know that this is a national problem. They have increased workloads due not only to classroom shortages, but there's also state laws and requirements that increase their workloads. And some of this has to be completed on their own time outside the classroom. The state has contributed to teacher departures, I believe, by continuing to add additional requirements to their workloads. I would like to point out in last year, the Charles Butt Foundation did a poll of a little over 900 Texas teachers. 68% of them seriously considered leaving their profession in 2021. That's an increase of 10 percentage points compared to the year before. The same poll, the teachers said they felt undervalued and underpaid. We must tackle the working conditions and other factors that are prompting them to leave. Tough school environments are demoralizing. Some examples of this are student absenteeism, class cutting, student apathy, lack of parental involvement, and high stress. These factors may also have an impact on the number of students graduating college that are coming into the teacher profession. Obviously, job opportunities outside education are strong, and some of these are have a contributing factor. Teacher burnout. This deals and addresses their professional and personal well-being, asking teachers what the most time-consuming part of your job is and what tasks aren't as important. You got to ask them, what are the systems that we can put in place so that you can do the work that you think matters the most? Another way to help is with engaged leadership. It is a leadership behavior that facilitates strengths. It connects and inspires employees in order to increase their work engagement. It also helps build cohesive teams. This meaningful type of management, in my opinion, is something that we should be practicing at all levels within our district. Thank you.
Thank you for that response. And then we'll hear from Mr. McCord next.
Okay. I hear the word burnout, and I think that there is some of that. Again, I have a daughter that teaches in another school district, and the last couple of years have been very frustrating. And I think that some of the things are the kids have come from a very unstructured home environment back into a school environment, and they liked it at home better. And so they tend to behave like they behaved out of school. But I think you have to quantify burnout. And, is it a discipline issue? Is it a classroom support issue? Are the teachers getting what they need and getting the assistance they need? Is it the hours, the additional hours they have to put in at school and at home in doing lesson plans and so forth? Classroom management. I think all of these things, and especially the pace of the teaching according to the TEKS. When I was doing substitute teaching, I couldn't believe how much they wanted you to cover in a day, especially how much they wanted you to cover in a week. I did typically long-term substitute jobs. I was typically in a classroom from 6 to 10 weeks when teachers would go out for medical issues or pregnancy or so forth like that. So I wasn't a substitute that walked in one day and walked out the next. I would get a classroom for 2 months typically. And that's the kind of position I wanted. I think another thing with regards to turnover in the ISD is jobs. There are a lot of jobs out there that pay a lot more money than teaching that teachers qualify for. In a lot of the tech industry jobs here in the Austin area, a lot of the corporate jobs, and there's a lot of corporate teaching and training jobs that can be done remote now. So if you have a choice of going to a school and being overwhelmed by discipline and support and all of that type of thing, or you can sit at home and do selective teaching to work groups in large corporate structures on both coasts or even across the ocean as a proctor, you're going to do that.
Thank you for that response. Next, we have Ms. Molina.
When I became a teacher, when I went to school to become a teacher, I knew what I was getting into. And I entered it into the teaching profession because I loved teaching. Our teachers still love teaching. It's that they don't get to do the teaching that is causing the burnout. Teachers have now become the places where we expect everything that is hurting in society to be fixed. Every single thing that ails us is expected to be fixed in the classroom, and that is tailored to each different child, each of the abilities that they have, both educationally, the social things that they bring into the classroom. And so what's contributing to this burnout is they're not actually getting to do what they signed up to do. And so, yes, it's workload. A lot of that is, like Mr. Allen just so wonderfully said, like that's from the state. The state is giving us. So there's not a lot that we can do there, but there is a posture change that we can have. There is a massive move to respecting and honoring that they are whole people. Our teachers are whole people. They have families, they have their own losses, they have their own struggles. And so I think what we really need to lend our energy to is making sure that we are honoring that they love their profession and they're dedicated beyond the pay, beyond all the things, but we want to help them by honoring that they're whole people and also honoring and dignifying the profession that they went in to actually do.
Thank you for that response. Next, we have Mrs. Mott.
Yes, so one of the things as a result of the pandemic was the unfinished learning and the accountability the state had on us and looking at our students with mastery or where they were. And we live in a society, they want a quick fix that, okay, we're going to catch up in 2 weeks or 6 months or 1 year and we're going to be back. Math doesn't work that way. It's so fundamental. So that is a big chronic stress thing. The other thing, talking to teachers, some of them could not find adequate daycare. Some of them living through the pandemic realized and reevaluated what was really important. Some of them were taking care of elderly people. Some of them experienced death during that period of time. And so they had to, they looked at readjusting. The burnout is just not in teachers though. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area where there were 9 superintendents, those are the big leaders that also just said, that's it. My children are in medical and the nurses and the physicians are also in that. So I think the parents would send their kids and then they would sometimes say, well, you don't have to go to school today, and they would be doing something else. So it's again, the importance and making education a priority. It has to be in the classroom with good teachers. And I think that's part of the stress that our teachers are just up against. And recently, in the last couple of months, the inflation and affordability, the teachers just walking away, that's never happened before. And it's just been excruciating, and it's really hard on our students. So again, the open communication and forums, we have to have a better exit interview, not just boxes to check, but a face-to-face on what is really going on, whether it's the principal, the HR department, or something, because there's a lot of chatter out there, but we're not getting to the root of that problem, and we have to find that out. St. Ed's cut their education program. Concordia only graduated 1 that semester. Thank you.
Thank you for that response. And then last, we'll hear from Mr. Black.
So 15%, that's a pretty big number. You scale that to schools, you're losing a few teachers all the way. Just fact about it. As everyone has said, the money does contribute, because if you're constantly worrying about, are your bills going to be paid, are you going to make rent, you're not able to really give everything you have in the classroom. And that's part of it, is that when you look at what is driving teacher burnout, it's coming from the state. We have a whole lot of unfunded mandates that we are, again, it's a mandate. And we have a lot of after work hours that are committed, that they're having to commit for grading, lesson planning, all the things that they need to, but on top of all of the mandates from the state for standardized testing, for TEKS, for everything. And a lot of teachers are also feeling like society is looking at them as both a solution and a problem, because as we have discussed previously, public education has gotten unreasonably interesting in the media. And a lot of teachers feel like they're being targeted in that, and with that rhetoric being portrayed in the media. And quite honestly, they aren't paid enough to deal with that. And I don't blame them for feeling that way. That is not their job. Their job is to be educators. And with that, you have to, kind of look at the world from a teacher's perspective and see there is private industry that will allow you to work from home and give you more flexibility for your work-life balance. So what we can do, we can ensure that our teachers do have work-life balance and they're not spending an extra 30 hours a week on after-school material to support their classrooms. We can ensure that as a school board, we shelter our teachers, our principals, and all of our educators from outside influences in the media, and really try to make sure that our state legislature starts funding whoever mandate they want to put down.
Thank you so much for that response. I'm gonna put the next question.
Right, our last question has to do with our budget. So we would like to know what your thoughts are on the current and our proposed budget for our school district. Okay. We would like to ask Corbin Black first.
I'm sorry, I'll ask.
Back to back. As I said, our budget is 14 million in the hole. It's not like we can go out and fundraise for this because our budget is controlled by the state. We've already utilized 6 of our 8 golden pennies, which will allow us to source more money from our tax base. And we have to put the remaining 2 pennies to a vote. We're in a tough spot. That's just, there's no getting around that. What we can do is, again, we have to prioritize our teachers. We have to prioritize our support staff. We have to prioritize our aides. With that, we can do our best to ensure that we try and maintain or at least keep our class sizes to a reasonable level. And that needs to be our first concern as far as our budget. We should also try to make sure that we keep our vocational training funded. I know that is typically a little bit more expensive to fund, but it is important to show kids that a college education is not the only way after high school. So that, as far as our budget, I think that we need to be ready to take bold steps to really preserve the core of our district, and that is our teachers and our educators. We need to make sure that we are supporting them, retaining them, and recruiting them with whatever funds we have available, and be ready to make the bold moves that will allow us to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Next, we will hear from Ms. Alissa Molina.
In reviewing the budget, for this past year, I was really thinking that there are some places that we can get creative with some of the money that we have set aside in tackling these problems that we've discussed over our time together. Specifically, there are a couple lines that were very interesting to me. One was the curriculum budget area that is 7.7 million, and that area is where also there is some room for our staff development. And so I'm wondering if there is a way to kind of look at where we already have money set aside and think creatively about how we're using that money to tackle some of these issues that we're talking about. There was another line that's 11.2 million under guidance and counseling. A lot of these issues that our teachers are facing in the classroom have to do with emotional health and the mental health of the kids that are in the classroom. So I'm wondering what exactly that 11.2 million is going towards. I'm sure it has something to do with funding the guidance counselors themselves, but I'm wondering if we can just start to look at these places a little bit more closely on how we're using these to affect change in the areas where we see the biggest problems in the classroom, the biggest struggles, the biggest concerns. I also am very concerned with the amount of local taxes, and that's what I've been hearing from voters, is that we keep having to dip more and more in relying on the raising of local taxes in order to fund things versus the state funding. Their version is getting less and less and less, and that is becoming such a massive problem for the voters in our district.
Thank you. Next, I would like to ask Ms. Vernagene Mott to respond.
Okay, this is a big area. One thing that has to be looked at is how the state funds us, because we get so much money based upon student enrollment and the average daily attendance. And when that has sunk this last year tremendously from where we were down to 88% of the kids just coming to school, as opposed to we used to be at 95, 96. And with the charters taking the enrollment down, it's very critical. So we have to work at the state level on the funding formula. Another thing that has to happen is the WADA, which is a cliff that we're fixing to meet, and that's the wealth per student. And because our appraised values have gone sky high and the number of students is decreasing, it's a simple math. When the numerator gets bigger and the denominator gets smaller, we're going to hit that where we will, on top of our regular budget, have to send money back. So the failed TRE was just critical. We have to go back and look at that and educate our voters on how that is actually going to work. For one thing, this year, the school board said we will have graduation on the field rather than going to the Irwin Center, which is very convenient, except we go on buses. But we have to keep looking at cost cutting, but we need to have the teachers and the principals involved in that and see how they can recommend that we can keep functioning and provide the best for our students in whatever way we can. We have made generous things to our teachers. We've given $100 stipend to get vaccinated. We've given a pay increase. We gave the 8 days for the COVID leave. We gave a $500 one-time payment to occur in this past February. And we've raised our minimum wage to $15 an hour. And we just have to keep looking at being efficient, transparent, and accountable in everything, every step that we do.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Brian Allen.
Thank you. My thoughts on the current budget, first and foremost, I believe that the CFO and the finance team are doing a great job managing our budget. For example, just on our last assessment with School First, and that is the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, PfISD received the highest rating possible. We got an A superior, and we scored 98 out of 100 points on that audit. So we're doing great things. Yeah, we've got a lot of work that still needs to be done. And I think in the past year, the district, even during the pandemic, the superintendent directed the finance department to look at ways that we could do some improvement and be more efficient in our spending without compromising the quality of education for our students. And that was a little over $6 million that we had. And we continue to prioritize our spending. We ensure that the right financial goals are set. And it's data driven. it can't be based on last year or the year before, because that is something new to us. It has to have more period to analyze that information. And higher property taxes, yes, that is contributing, but also our tax rate is the lowest it's been in 21 years in the district. So we continue to do what we can, monitor our spending, track by line. We just had a third-party audit that we were free and clear of all errors. We manage our federal dollars very well, and we look at ways to continue to support the district in being efficient and spending our dollars. And also, I'd like to point out the last part is $160.6 million of our $259 million operating budget goes to instruction. That's our largest expenditure. So to me, I believe that it's in the right areas. And I think we just keep looking. Thank you.
Thank you. And I apologize. I'd like to circle back to Mr. McCord. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll be short and sweet on this. I learned a long time ago in the tech industry that every budget has wiggle room. There's always money in the budget you don't know is in there, and you can make adjustments and find money that you need. And I think finding money for educators, finding money for the classroom is the place where we ought to be looking to see if we can move more money in that direction. Without a doubt, the budget shortfall is going to be painful. It's going to be very painful. Ms. Mott mentioned the TRB, our opportunity to do a tax swap. The messaging on that was terrible. I think I stood in the stadium, stood on the field 4 or 5 weeks in a row and watched the message on the Jumbotron, and I don't think I ever understood what they were trying to do. I had to have somebody explain it to me. Unfortunately, I'm taking the leadership course for school board or for school leadership, PfISD. We have another class tomorrow. And I brought that up. Unfortunately, the person that actually was the creator of that message was in the room when I told him it was a horrible method of messaging. But that's kind of who I am. If I see something, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm just going to say it the way it is. And we could have been a lot clearer on how to get that extra money and do the tax swap. But there's no denying that the next year to 2 years is going to be a tremendous challenge. And we have to do something to protect and keep our educator losses at a minimum, and that by supporting them in the classroom and supporting them financially.
Thank you, Mr. McCord. And last, we'd like to hear from Ms. Renae Mitchell.
Again, I want to say thank you for hosting this. I really appreciate it. Enjoyed the time with you guys this evening. Let me just start off by saying we have a AAA credit rating, and that says that we've been very prudent with our budget and our spending. You just don't get that type of rating by doing things out of the ordinary. So 85% of our budget goes towards salaries. So we have to continue as board members fighting the good fight. Having the legislators to, right now what we're fighting is to hold us harmless for the whole year instead of the first 4 to 6 weeks, which means go by enrollment to fund us for this year, not by ADA, average daily attendance. So that's one way we have to fight. And then also give us local control and help us to fund our programs and facilitate those programs that we need resources to help our teachers to stay in the classroom, help our kids to stay engaged and giving them the resources they need so that they can reach their full potential. And then lastly, we just need to be wise about how we're spending, where we're spending, and the way we're spending. We had a couple of buyback programs that you can contribute to giving us money back in our budgets in terms of when we, age out computers or some type of equipment. We find buyback programs to help us with our budget. We are stretching our budget this year, but we're stretching it for a really good reason. And that is to put the money where we really need to put it. And that is in with our teachers and our staff. Hooray for us raising that minimum wage to $15 an hour for everyone who was not making that. And then they get extra on top of that. They take them to the 15%. And then there's a scale to talk about what that 3% means to those that we are raised. Just keep looking.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. So at this time, our meeting has come to an end. We appreciate you all taking the time to address our community and sharing your thoughts with us. So out of respect for everyone's time, we'll close the meeting shortly. And we would like to remind everyone that early voting opens Monday, April 25th until Tuesday, May 3rd. And Election Day voting is Saturday, May 7th from 7 to 7. If you have any further questions or concerns for our candidates, we have included their email addresses in the chat. Thank you again for joining us. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that correction, Ms. Molina. I just saw that. Thank you for adding that. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate your time. Take care.
Thank you guys for voting. Bye-bye.